Hello. Today is April 23rd, 2024. Hope you're well. So, today we're going to talk about helping people. And, yeah, because it's just natural when we see people suffering or unhappy that we would want to, it's just natural that we would want to alleviate their suffering, right? Because we know how it feels. But there are so many components to this, though, because sometimes people don't want our help. As hard as that might be to understand, that's the truth. Sometimes people are very well aware of whatever the situation is and what's causing their suffering and all of the stuff. And we as an outsider coming in might just annoy them. Get out of the street, you little squirrel. Gee whiz. So that's one thing. Another thing is that it may not be appropriate, just plain and simple. It may not be appropriate for us to step forward with some advice or whatever, to enter into it in any way. Well, how can that be? That would not be appropriate. Well, as many of us probably have learned, oftentimes it's through the difficulties that we go through and then we get through, that we come to a brand new awareness. It changes us that we went through the situation from the beginning, middle, and end, and saw it through. And had it been interrupted, we may not have learned what we learned or grew the way we grew. We may not have come to this new way of being. It's kind of like those parents, they call them helicopter parents, right? And every time little Billy has anything that looks even sort of like discomfort, here they come to save the day, right? But, really, there are times where that's appropriate to come in for little Billy. If he falls and he's crying and he's bleeding, whatever, if he really got hurt, then it would be inappropriate to ignore that and just let him go through it by himself. But there are times where, it's really doing the child a disservice to step in all the time, because unfortunately, the rest of that sentence. Unfortunately, mom and dad ain't going to be there all the time. And if a child is not allowed to see it through sometimes for themselves, they won't have that ability later on. They won't grow. And we've seen that. We've seen children who, it's just like, wait a minute, why isn't the whole wide world catering to me? They don't know how to live in a world where all their little tiny, the details of everything going on in their life is not attended to by somebody. And the thing is with us, when we want to help someone, we don't know. We don't know. We cannot see the whole picture of what's happening with them in their lives. Maybe in our estimation, something's happening to them. But in any event, we can't know all the nuances of how things are unfolding in their life. All right? So that's important to remember, that we're very limited in our understanding. Even in our own lives, we're still trying to uncover, why do I do this? And why did I say that? And this and that and other for ourselves. And so much more when we're dealing with other people. When there's stuff going on, there's so much that is hidden from us. And we don't understand. We don't see it. So to try and help could really be more of a hindrance in some situations. And it's very difficult, especially if you're empathic or very feeling, very sensitive or intuitive. It would be very difficult for you to do this, to step back. Because again, we know, especially if you are those things we just said, if you're those things and you understand deeply what suffering feels like, and you don't wish that on anybody, and if you see somebody it looks like they're really going through it, it's just natural to want to help them through. But see, this is where our learning comes in as well, because just because we have that reaction to seeing this does not mean that our reaction is good or right or beneficial. We're not saying it's bad or wrong. We're saying just because we have feelings doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be helpful, or that it's going to be the correct thing for that situation. Because sometimes we confuse it. We feel like, well, if I'm feeling it and it feels real and it feels right, then it must be. But again, this is where we're learning. We're learning that, that part of us that experienced the suffering is what's oftentimes that's the part of us that's really at the forefront when we want to step in. And we're coming from a place of past hurts, past suffering. And there's another part of us as well, which is not, this is according to the speaker, and again, nobody has to subscribe to this, but according to my experience and understanding at this moment, we have that part of us which kind of is collected information over time through our experiences of, what felt good and what felt bad, and interactions with other people and how it affected us and all that. We have all that stored up. And we also have this other part of us, again, according to the speaker, which is not that, which is more principled, I guess we can say. It has nothing to do with memories of past experiences in this place. It has to do with love. Okay? And of course, when you're talking about love, we don't want people to suffer. We love them. But hold on just a second. We don't want to see people suffering. We want to help. But again, this other part of us, which is not rooted in pain and memory and past hurts, This is the part of us that can actually help. So that's the nice thing, is that it's just that we're going to go about it differently. Okay. Because like we said earlier, we're limited on this physical plane. Even when we do want to help people, we're still limited in the things that we could offer if we were going to do that. But with this other part of us, we don't have those limitations or restrictions. And that part of us is, how do we put this? It's connected to something else, to something that can alleviate, that can bring about some kind of peace for people who are going through it. That's the part of us that we want to have come to the forefront in situations. Now, when we're talking about whatever that, we're trying really hard here not to put, we don't need to put labels on it, right? That only just muddies the waters anyway. Just a second, sorry. So we're not gonna try and label this thing, but we'll just get to the practical aspect of this, which is now, instead of us putting our hands in a situation and maybe making it worse, what we do is we come at it from within ourselves, within this, whatever this thing. Some people might call it your higher self. Whatever it is, that's where we go to. That's what we allow to, well, what do we do with it? What do we do with this higher whatever? Well, one thing we do is, it's almost like praying. We don't want to say praying or meditating, but a deep, deep feeling that something will alleviate the suffering of the other person if and when that is appropriate. Because we don't know, we don't see the whole picture. In our meditation, our thoughts, our feelings inside toward this person, instead of us focusing on whatever the thing is that's causing the suffering or the challenging situation, whatever it is they're experiencing, instead of focusing on that, we focus on peace for them. So maybe we might, and I know, and this does sound pointless and useless, but in the speaker's experience, it's not. So you can just take that however you like, but just from within, imagining them without the burden anymore. Picturing them in our mind's eye. You know how they always say, if you want something, you have to see it in your mind's eye. This person being content, even thriving, having been relieved of the burden they were carrying. And we just send that feeling. The feeling that comes with that is what we, quote, send to the person. There's no sending in actuality, of course, right? But that's with this language that we speak, that's the only way the speaker can think to put this. Allow people to go through what they're going through. And know that it's temporary. Whatever it is, whatever we've gone through, it was temporary. And even now you may be in a challenge. The speaker certainly is. That's why we're doing this, of course. But we know that if we are experiencing a challenge at this time, it's just temporary again. It's just temporary. And whatever those around us might be suffering, it's temporary.
It's not forever. And, you don't even have to tell me. I know this sounds like, yeah, okay, well, you gave us nothing here. And it does feel like nothing, but it does. It really does. And in words, it seems just like a bunch of what they call hooey. But according to the speaker's own experience, that's the best thing to do oftentimes, because again, these things have energy. These whatever people are experiencing has energy to it. And us too, all of us. And when we focus on the things that are heavy or dark, that affects us. We can absorb that energy as well. And now, before you know it, now they're suffering and we're suffering because we're pulling that in, and that's pulling us down. And it's not selfish to not want that for ourselves. It doesn't help another person that they're suffering and now we're suffering right along with them. It does not help them. Although it might be a nice thought. It looks great on paper, but it's not great, because now in that situation, how are we going to pull in the type of energy that possibly could help them for real if we come to the situation from love or from higher self or from source or whatever you call it? That energy, we can block that when we are constantly worrying, having anxiety, and just we can get overwhelmed with their thing, and now receiving the light or the energy that would help the situation is not going to even be able to come through us. That's part of our thing here, according to the speaker. Right now, these times we're living in right now, today, it's April 23rd, 2024. These times that we're living in now are really, really, really heavy. And when you look around at people, the different people, those in your life and those when you go shopping or ride the bus or whatever you're doing at work, everybody's going through something right now. And a lot of people are going through a lot of really, really difficult things. Not sure why I brought that up, but that's the world we live in right now. It's really, really hard. And people are becoming more and more callous as well. And it's not a judgment. We're not judging. That's the thing. Unfeeling. That's what we mean by callous. Feeling for other people, having that sensitivity, love toward others. This world is promoting self-service, number one. And we know that. If you live on this planet, you know exactly what we're saying. So we want to just, if we want to participate in helping and bringing some kind of comfort or relief to others, the best thing we can do, according to my own experience, is to make sure that we're not absorbing a lot of this dark, heavy energy that's everywhere now, everywhere. It's the air that we're breathing is filthy. The water is contempt, everything, okay? So it's taking all of it. It's taking all of our energy to just not absorb that and to be like vessels to receive the higher, lighter, freer energy to bring that. And then when we do that, that's a way that we can assist. But trying to come at it from our small self, thinking we're going to put our hands in something, and that very often it doesn't. It might have some band-aid effect for a moment, if anything at all. But again, it's much better to to connect to the thing that is limitless and allow that to move through us and bring that here at this time. So hopefully this has been helpful to someone. As always, we want to wish you much love. Bye.